Good morning, class. Happy Thursday, April 16. Today we are going to now just focus on this overarching learning target of how we responsibly do three things. 1, gather, 2, analyze, and 3, share news and information today. Our agenda is first, I'll just make some quick comments on yesterday's worksheet about news bias. After that, I will provide more detail on this project. I will do my best to make everything as clear as possible for you. And then before today ends, 3 o'clock, there is an exit slip. It's a 3-part question. I'll go through that at the end of this video. Also, final reminder that if you have any sort of missing or late work, the deadline to finish that is tomorrow, Friday, 3 p.m., unless I have specifically reached out to you and told you otherwise. You have not gotten any sort of email from me saying otherwise. That means Friday 3 p.m. finish all the late work you have. Otherwise, it will go in as a 0. And if you're a senior, that means you have missing and late work, which means you will no longer be exempt from taking the exam. First, just quick comments from yesterday's worksheet. There were 3 articles. I asked you, 1, to summarize the main points, key ideas. I didn't need you to summarize every detail, but I didn't just want the main point. I wanted some of the key ideas behind the main point as well. So a little bit of detail at least. Then asked you to tell me what bias each source had and explain how you could tell. And then you had to choose which article you thought was the least reliable / most, or least biased, / most reliable. Then leave a comment explaining why and how. So the article you should have chosen for least biased is the first one. This is like an interview, a conversation between 2 people. One seems to be more in favor of the immigration ban, or at least can support it. The other one is more against it. By having both sides of the story, it helps balance itself out. Just a couple things I want to clarify on this. 1, I don't think that having an opinion, because it's unavoidable today to find news without any sort of opinion whatsoever. That just doesn't happen. Whether it should or not is a different story. The reality of it is everybody has an opinion, especially in the news. So just because it has an opinion, there might be a bias, but don't think that automatically means it's invalid and unfair. It's okay if news has a bias. It's just everyone has an opinion, but when it's twisted, the truth is distorted, and it becomes unfair. That's when it's a problem, and that's not always the case. Whether it's more conservative or liberal, that's not always the case. Second thing is, just because you have a lot of sources or a lot of contributors to the article, doesn't mean that automatically it's good. Usually having more is better, but if you have 10 people contributing to the article and all 10 are Republicans or all 10 are Democrats, that still is most likely going to leave it to be biased. So more isn't always mean it's accurate. It often is, just not all the time. So just keep those things in mind. Okay, so project is going through these essential questions. The value, how we respond, how we navigate the digital sea. Your goal is to create an infographic. For those who don't know what that is, you can Google it. A quick definition, it's basically like an online poster. It's a visual. It provides information, info, in a visual way, graphic. I have split up. I have given you on Google Classroom this document. There's a couple different questions. You do not have to answer all of these questions in the infographic. I'll explain that in a little bit. What I've done with this chart is kind of explain how those questions are split up between the 3 parts of the learning target. So these questions here would fit under finding news responsibly. These 2, analyzing news responsibly. And then this last one is sharing news responsibly. And these 2 questions at the bottom are 2 questions that kind of encompass all of them together. They're more of the bigger picture questions. So just take a look at this, pause the video if you need to. This is just helping you break down each part of the learning target in a more specific way. And when you create your infographic trying to answer these questions, don't answer all of them, but make sure you address the finding, the analyzing, and the sharing part in a meaningful way, even if it's not completely answering all of these questions. if we go to Google Classroom, and if you open up the rubric and outline for this, these prompts are simply for you to consider. They are not prompts that you need to have, except for this very last one, which is how does finding, analyzing, and sharing news responsibly look different for a Christian compared to a non-Christian? That goes back to our second essential question, salt, light, and aroma of Christ. What does it mean to be different as a Christian when it comes to finding, analyzing, and sharing news? Otherwise, these are the other questions you should consider. You are not expected to answer all of them, but make sure you answer all three parts, find, analyze, and share, using these prompts. Once again, for this infographic, you're looking for a balance between empty space, text, and using graphics and visuals. Having that balance, 1, allows you to present information, 2, it makes it easier to read, it's not an essay, and 3, it should present it in an effective way that's visually appealing. Some tools you can use for this: Easily, Piktochart, Canva. If you don't already have accounts for these, you can just use your school login information and sign up using Google. Just make sure you're, of course, choosing the free versions. One other one that you can use, I've never used it before, but I had a student in a different class just use it earlier this week, or actually it was before spring break, is LucidPress. I don't exactly know how that works, but if you want to try it out, go for it. I'm sure we can make that work. If you would like to create an infographic, but using something else, as long as you approve it with me first, that's fine. But realize it has to be an infographic creation tool, not Google Slides, not Google Docs, not Prezi. Those are not infographic creation tools. Those will not be allowed. This is a test grade. It's worth 30 points. 20 points is for how well you explain finding, analyzing, sharing news. And then don't forget to make sure you respond to this prompt in bold here as well. 10 points is for how you create it, using that balance of empty space, text, graphics, and visuals, presenting it in a creative, effective way. That's what we're looking for. Whatever sources you used, and not all of this has to be from a source. Much of this can be your own opinion, but I do want this to be a blend of both research-based information and your own original thinking, which is more opinion-based. So all I need you to do is copy and paste at least 3 sources that you consulted to back up the information that you use. So I don't need footnotes, I don't need MLA, just copy paste. We're going to make the sources simple because I made it a little more complicated with the footnotes last time. So that's kind of the details. Just a reminder, some expectations for how you create this. This was in the video yesterday too, but if you want to pause the video and just take a look at all this information, you can. I'm not going to explain it again because I've already done it from yesterday. What you need to have done then, before school ends today, is answer these 3 questions for your exit slip. They will be posted on Google Classroom. It's all together on the same question, so please number your answers for all 3. 1, as of now, by 3 p.m. today, what percentage of your project is done? I'm not expecting it to be more than halfway done, but it should be more than 0. You are expected to work on something today, something meaningful. 2, what specifically have you done from yesterday when I introduced this project and today when you should be starting to do more of the actual work for it? So tell me what you did in a specific, clear way. 3, what questions, if any, do you have for this project? Something that's confusing, something you don't understand. If you don't have any questions, just say, I have no questions. So please have this answered by 3 p.m. today. Please take at least some time to start working on it. I'm not expecting you to finish it. I don't even expect you to be over halfway. I just want at least something meaningful done, so we're not starting from nothing next week. As of now, I've put the due date for this project next week, Wednesday, 10 a.m. That could change either to be earlier or later, depending on how things go today and next week, Monday. Don't forget, all missing late work is due tomorrow, 3 p.m. Tomorrow is just a work day for you, so if you have questions or if you want to have a Zoom meeting or Google Hangout meeting, tomorrow will be the best time to schedule one of those. Good luck with this. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll talk to you more next week.